Hello and welcome to the 26th episode of When I Was Your Age. I'm your host, Roland Parker, coming from a delightful NFL postseason. And as always, it is a joy, pleasure, and a treat to have you here. Today's guest is one of my oldest and best friends, Slay James. I'm really excited to talk with him about his journey and how much that means to me personally. Before I bring him into the stream, we're going to talk housekeeping first. So make sure that you follow the Instagram at WIWYA pod. We are currently at 1,133 followers, which means so much for all the support that you guys show each week. If you're listening for the first time, consider giving us a follow, and you can do that in these places: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, and YouTube. You can find the links to all of those places on the link tree in the Instagram bio. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and bring Slay into the stream. Slay, how we doing? What's up with you, man?
Doing good. Nothing much. Just taking it easy on my first of 2 days off before I go back into work on Wednesday.
Nice, love it. So, okay, tell me about your snow situation, because everybody's situation has been like a little bit different, but I feel like you would have gotten some heavy coverage. Tell me about it.
Man, we got huge coverage, and so it started last Sunday, and last Sunday was one of my days off. So I went and saw my girlfriend Taylor out where she is, and Bell Buckle is like 20 minutes from here. And the snow started after, and I was like, I remember the snowpocalypse of 2013. I'm not driving, and her parents were gracious enough to let me crash on their couch. And I ended up being stuck there for 3 nights, 4 days.
Oh my gosh.
I missed one day of work because I didn't want to get out on the roads. But ever since last Wednesday, it's just been sketchy roads. Hasn't been too bad because all the main roads, they've been pretty good about keeping the main roads clear. But the road that she lives on, this windy back road, I was just like, that's the one that scares me the most. I don't want to go ice skating in my nice car.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's so interesting, like now to talk with people from the South who we're not used to it. We don't have the infrastructure. It's not something that we see all that often. I distinctly remember, and like you mentioned with the snowpocalypse, just seeing the pileup of all of the cars on Gateway, that ginormous hill, just like cars just like ping ponging like back and forth, like just hitting each other, hitting mailboxes, like, and just like coming to a stop. It was so brutal, man. I've never seen like anything like it. Like so many cars just like stranded, like people getting out in like four-wheelers to go pick up their their spouses in on like 459 and like 280 and stuff. It was just insane.
Yeah, I didn't even take my car home from school. I left it in the parking spot at school for 2 days, maybe. I just was like, you know what? The high school's close enough. I can just walk home.
Yeah, same. I did the same. This is when I was driving the Taurus, and my dad let me like go down Morgan, like after the snow. He's like, all right, like it's good. They've like sanded and salted it. You still need to be really careful. I want you to have this experience. So I was like freaking out, because if you got going too fast, then you got that bridge and the curve kind of around Western, now Publix. But oof, man, it was cool, but it was nerve wracking to get that experience, especially in like
nothing like too scary driving wise. The scariest experience was I was leaving work early Saturday morning, I had covered a shift for a friend of mine. So not only was I leaving on a day that I wasn't supposed to be there, I was leaving from a different place. We have 2 locations, and I left. It was like 5:30 in the morning, and a couple minutes later, my car starts doing something I've never have happened to me in a car before. Is my engine started overheating? Like the temperature gauge was like all the way red. I was like, let's pull over.
Yeah.
I sent a shout out to my coworkers, and I was like, anybody know of an auto shop nearby? It was, I mean, even it was like still 6 in the morning, but I was lucky enough to have a coworker who's had car issues. He came out, gave me some antifreeze, some coolant, and was able to get me back on the road with no more problems. And I haven't had a problem since.
Dude, oh man, that's nerve wracking. To like when you feel like so stranded like that for a car to go out in any so like when it's early and in extreme conditions, that's tough. Yeah,
Oh
hate
yeah.
to see it. Well, if you guys are not, then go ahead and make sure that you follow Slay on Instagram. You can keep up with him there. But I think we're going to go ahead and get into some get to know you questions, get an idea of what Slay is all about. So let's dive into that.
Yeah,
Slay,
let's go.
where are you from and where do you currently live?
I love answering this question because I can't decide. Sometimes I decide to give the whole backstory, and sometimes I don't, just to keep it simple if I don't like plan on interacting with individuals very often. But I'll go with the whole backstory. So I was adopted from Penza, Russia, when I was a year old, by my wonderful parents, Daisy and John. And
Shouts out.
I've grown up in Birmingham, Alabama. Went through high school there. Just Birmingham is home to me. And right now, I currently live in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I've been calling this place home since about May of 2023.
Nice. Well, love that. So, Mr. Worldwide coming through with that. So what do you do? So we'll touch on it briefly and then dive a little more in depth as we get further into the pod. But what do you do now?
Right now, I work for a faith-based recovery program called S2L, or Spring to Life Ministries. I guess my job title officially is recovery coach. But yeah, it's a faith-based addiction recovery center in Woodbury, Tennessee. Our second location, or our second phase, as we call it, is called the Cabin, and that one's in McMinnville, about 40-ish minutes from here, from Murfreesboro.
Nice, love that. How old are you?
How old am I? Man, I actually had to stop and think about this the other day. I actually brought out my calculator, and I was like, 2023 minus 1996. Okay, I'm 27.
Yeah,
Thanks.
it's funny because I've been at this point for quite a few episodes now where people this seems to be about the age where we really struggle to like be sure about what age we actually are, because it's kind of in between some um major birthdays, I guess, and it feels like I don't know, kind of an in between zone. So yeah, I catch myself doing that all the time.
Yeah, it's not
what
a
a
nice whole number. It's not a
Yeah,
nice whole
exactly.
number.
Yeah, 20 it's a it's a prime number, so maybe there's something to that, something psychologically we can't get through. I don't know. And like 20 28 seems like way closer, even by scale, to like your 30s than 27. And I know that it's like a whole year closer, but I don't know, like it feels further along to 30 than just a year than 27, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I think my deal is just growing up, counting wise, like 7 always after 6, and both starting with the letter S. It's just like 6, 7, and then just adding an age quality to it. It's just, wait a minute, am I 26? Am I 27?
I do
It's
that
just not
when
a whole number.
Yeah, I do that when I'm, like, counting reps, like, in the gym. I frequently get lost kind of, like, around, like, 5 through 8, and I'm like, I don't know what it is, and I'm, like, trying to use, like, effort as, like, my marker for how much I'm doing anyway, but I'm like, "Did I just do 6 twice? Where am I?" And it it's
Exactly.
it's so funny to think about something as simple as counting, like, you lose track of, um, like that. Um, what piece of media are you currently enjoying? So book, podcast, music, TV, what's kinda your go-to at the moment?
My go-tos at the moment right now, I got to give you some credit because I'm not a very big podcast person. I'm a get in the car, listen to music. But ever since you've started this podcast, you've kind of, every time we've talked, it's just like, hey, have you listened to my podcast? And I was like, yeah, you know me, I'm not a podcast person. But no, I'm actually on episode 8
Love
when
it.
I was your age, and it's just like I told you earlier, is I find myself looking forward to what each guest has to say and like what they're doing, and so that's big on what I'm currently enjoying as a listener. And other than that, I'm going through the good old young adult book series. I think that you and I used to enjoy when we were younger, is The Inheritance Cycle by
Oh,
Christopher
nice, yes.
Paolini.
Yeah, man.
Um, he really Christopher Paolini wrote the Aragon, Elvis, Brissinger. He's actually got a sci-fi series now, and just this past year, a couple months ago, he released a whole brand new thick book, just an extension into this beloved fantasy world that one I haven't read in like years, like
Mhm.
decades. Um, and it's just it. I finished Aragon like a couple of weeks ago, and now I'm on Eldest, and it's just, oh my goodness, this I feel like I'm getting so much more out of it
Right, yeah.
at this age. So I'm reading that, and Taylor and I, we found ourselves going through the Big Bang Theory on
Oh,
HBO
nice.
Max. It's funny because we were just on TikTok the other day, and just a clip of Big Bang Theory was going on. And she's like, "Oh, now I want to watch that." And I was like, "Oh, I'll see if I can find it on a streaming platform." And it was
Just been working through
on
it.
HBO Max. And so, but she's like watching it on her profile. I'm watching it on mine. She's like ahead of me at this point. Um, she's like in season 3. I'm in season 2. But yeah, it's um, that's a show that I've been getting into, and it's so funny because I'm starting to see like little bits that uh,
That you
shine
like
through like each episode. Like for example, Wolowitz, the engineer, he's like, for some reason, whenever he's referencing his mother, he's like, "My mother makes a mean brisket," and that's popped up in a couple episodes. I was like, "Huh." So seeing those like little things like come up in episodes further down the line, it's just like I'm starting to piece together a overarching like just an overarching story in a world just that
Yeah.
um it's
Uh,
fun to catch on to.
yeah, no doubt. That was a big one that we would, sit down and, like, watch, like, all together, like, as a family. It was it was that one, and we would watch The Walking Dead together.
Good one.
And,
They're making too many of those now.
yeah, dude, they lost me, honestly, kinda probably, like, season, like, 3 or 4. I just, like, not that it wasn't interesting, I just hit the gap, like, at, like, the right moment to, like, lose interest, um, and it's at like I loved it, like, the first, like, few seasons, like, some of my favorite, like, TV, like, ever, but it just kinda I don't know, it just kinda fizzled out. I've done that before with other shows too. I've just, like, really enjoyed it and then like for whatever reason, just like completely
That
lost
fatigue
interest.
sets in.
Yeah. I've been listening to the Red Rising series, so I got to shout out Kai He. In his episode. He gave his that was what he was doing is he got through Libby. He was like getting the audiobooks and listening to them that way. So I just got the third book. I've been waiting for like several weeks for somebody to give up like their hold in the library. Been working through that, and it's really good. Um, but but yeah, it's Red Rising series. Shout out to Libby. Don't use Amazon. Use go use your local library card. Get the hookup that way. Um, what's something that you consider a luxurious necessity? You said you've been listening to a few episodes, so you probably picked up on some trends here and there. But what's something that you consider a luxurious necessity?
Man, this one, along with the national anthem question that you asked, these two I've been really thinking about. I know your example is coffee, but I think Dr. Pepper is my luxurious necessity. I gotta have my Dr. Pepper, even though I don't need it, but like,
Yeah,
it's
it's
nice
your
and refreshing. Very
it's your
crisp.
elixir. It's a yeah. I feel I
Exactly.
that's something that I kind of always associate with you too. Is just I remember the fondness with which you held your Dr. Pepper. I love it, and I love that you've stayed true to that. So, get what how many Dr. Peppers are we consuming a day? And do you think?
Let's see. When I go in, I usually take four 12-ounce cans with me to work. If I have a 24 pack in my refrigerator, I just got a new one today. Um, on a safe, I think a safe average would be at least five.
5 a
At least
day?
five Dr. Peppers a day. It's probably
Oh
not the
my
best
gosh.
idea, but
5 a day, I love it. That that's awesome. Uh, is it, would you ever venture, like, outside of, like, the normal Dr. Pepper, like the Dr. Pepper cream soda or anything like that?
there have been a couple of times where I've felt frisky and was like, you know what, let's try this cherry flavor or this cream soda flavor. There was this chocolate flavor, this limited edition chocolate flavor that I could never find, but I really wanted
Oh,
to try
I
it.
haven't seen that.
The thing that kind of gave me pause though was when they released the Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar, because I mean you got like Coke Zero, Sprite Zero, all these zero sugar options, and when Dr. Pepper's like, hey, we've got a zero sugar, I was like, okay, but is it actually going to taste bad?
Mhm.
And to my surprise, um, it actually tastes very, very similar to an actual
Yeah.
Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, the Diet Dr. Pepper, I remember being pretty close to, like, true to the real thing.
Yeah, yeah. Now that doesn't mean I'll actually go out and buy Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Just
But I if somebody offered, there you're like, "This'll do for the moment."
yes, exactly. This will do. I might secretly wish it was a regular Dr. Pepper, but
Sure.
I'm always grateful to receive a good old DP.
Gotcha. So 5. So you're bringing in 4, but you're averaging 5 to
Well,
work.
see,
So
I take four, and most of the time I'll usually end up drinking one of those in the car on the way there. And if I space them out um, right, I'll usually have one in the car and then just two throughout my shift in the night. And I'll usually have one on the way back if I am not feeling too thirsty.
love it. Love it. All right. It's a so you know this question's coming now is given the opportunity to replace the national anthem with any song on your playlist, what is it? And tell me a little bit about that.
Hmm.
You said you were thinking about it, so I'm interested to hear what your answer is gonna be.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. The song that just comes to mind or hasn't come to mind. It's just been like lingering there, and like I've thought about it, and it's just, I think this one would do pretty well. I mean, I did at first think of "Sweet Home Alabama" by Leonard Skinner, but I wouldn't be true to myself if it wasn't a Imagine Dragons song. So um, I'd have to go with "Younger" off one of their latest albums. Um, it's just like this really cool song about how like he's singing about how he wishes he could do the things like he used to when he was younger. I mean, something that just we as people uh, just a desire for the past, and it's just such a really beautifully written song, and it's got one of the coolest guitar solos in the entire discography. Um, and I was just thinking if that was the national anthem, that guitar solo would just get me really amped up for whatever sporting event I was getting ready to watch.
Mm, love it. I love to see how it resonates with you. I can't wait to give it a listen. So, if you want to hear that song and a handful of other songs selected by guests, we've got them compiled all in a playlist, and it's a, let me look at the title while it's in front of me of the playlist. You can find the link in the link tree,
Yeah, I've been
where
wondering
we've
if you've been putting them in a playlist so far.
Yep, it's called WIWYA, and then it's called Rah. So it's got like the call of the eagle there, so you can go follow it. But
Very cool.
that is in the link tree, so you can go find it and follow it on Spotify. I don't have an Apple Music version, so sorry about that. But you can at least look at the list there and come up with your own. All right. And last question before we kind of dive in a little further is how do we know each other?
I have been trying to think about how we became friends, and I can't um, I can't think of anything past Mrs. Pate's fourth and fifth grade class. Um,
I'll go a little bit earlier if you can't do that. So in second grade, Miss Bickley, that was
okay,
when
yep.
that was like one of the bigger moments that I kind of think of us as like really getting close and being friends because you taught me how to spell the word custodian. Or
That
no,
is
you
so
taught me how to
specific.
you taught me how to pronounce it, and, like, we had, like, reading parts, and you could pronounce it, and I was trying to do it, and I was like you were, like, line 1, line 2, and I was like,
Wow.
it's, supposed to I was, like, supposed to, like, say it, and you were like kinda graciously were like, "Why don't I do this grouping of lines and you do the other grouping of lines because I can say it and you kinda struggle with it." And I was, like, kinda bummed, but I was a little, like, relieved that you did it. That sticks
Wow.
out to
I
me.
do not remember that at all. I
It's
mean, I
okay.
remember
I
Miss
got
I
it locked
remember
up.
Miss Bixley's class, especially because I think she was the teacher that read us the last of the really great Wang Doodles, and I just remember
Mhm.
loving that book.
Yep.
And she'd always do those voices, but man, I I I was so sure. I was like, you know what? I think it's fourth and fifth grade when we had Miss Payne. We
It's
looped that.
yeah. Yeah. The
Man, second grade.
second grade was when we had, like, a class together. Now, it as far as, like, us, like, knowing and meeting each other, I think would have been, like, Covenant, like preschool probably.
Yeah,
It's
good
a na
old Covenant.
it's a that's it right there. Um, all right, well, it's a thanks for diving in with all of that. Let's go a little further into your story. So, you mentioned, kinda what you do with S2L or Spring to Life. Um, but what I'd kinda like to get a picture of is your journey with alcohol and your relationship with it and kinda coming to an understanding of where you are. So give me kind of a general it's a general picture of what that was for you, anything that you feel important, feel free to highlight. Because I think it's a neat thing for you to be able to share and important to hear. So take it away.
All right. Yeah, just growing up, I mean, you and I know we both were raised with some very good parents. Our parents were very no nonsense, don't do this kind of thing. Like I remember like just feeling or just wishing we could like do certain things like some of the more popular kids were doing, especially like in high school. And I guess alcohol really entered the picture for me when I went off to college. I went to Troy University, and I remember because I rushed a fraternity, and before even I had gone to school, they had like a rush event, and it was a just like a night party, and then the next day we not rafted, we tubed down the Warrior River in Wetumpka, and even then I was just I was terrified to touch alcohol because I knew I was going back to the parents that I have, and it wasn't until I had left the nest and really got to know what alcohol, what it does, and it was just something that, man, hey, I really enjoy this, and didn't think too much of it at the time. It was just something that we fraternity guys did. It was fun. It's fun to do while we are hanging out, while partying, and it was just something that I guess was a normal college thing to do, especially at a young up and coming university, kind of like Troy. Troy was growing really, really exponentially at that time, but it really didn't pose much of a, or I guess it didn't have as much of a hold as I had originally thought, or it had a bigger hold on me than I thought. But in 2017, I had a DUI, and that kind of just forced me to take a step back. Because I mean, with a DUI comes with major consequences, and not only did I have one DUI, I got two DUIs. In the span of 1 week, I got two DUIs, and it had some major repercussions. My parents told me I was coming out of school, I was going to work for a semester, and through the next year of my life, so from 2017, August 2017 through like September of 2018, I was in this program where every single day I'd have to call a number, and if my color was called, I would have to go in for a drug screen, and if I failed a drug screen test, I was going to spend 4 months in jail. So, but apparently that did not scare me enough, because I figured a way around the system. I was like, oh, I can drink on this day because if Monday's a holiday, and if they test me on Tuesday, it'll be gone by the time I have a drink like on Friday or so. So I figured out a way around the system. And if that doesn't tell you the kind of hold that alcohol, especially on someone who can get so addicted to it, that's the kind of hold it can have on a person. And it was just this ball and chain that dragged me down, slowed me down, and just ruined a whole bunch of things in my life, like a bunch of relationships, some really good relationships. They were ruined by my relationship with alcohol. And I've lost so many jobs because of alcohol. And the biggest job I probably regret losing the most was I worked for Robert Luttrell.
Yeah.
I worked for his woodworking company. They were big commercial woodworking company. We'd like install cabinets and a lot of wood, like just woodwork stuff for commercial businesses, and I really enjoyed it. I'd worked a bunch of jobs, working with my hands, and building stuff was really fun. And I thought I had it pretty stable. I was pretty stable going. I held that job for a good year, but just looking back, the ultimate reason why I lost it was because I was drinking every single night, and drinking very heavily, and like very embarrassed and ashamed to look back on the times where I just did not care. I did not care whatsoever, even when I had coworkers coming up and telling me I smelled like a brewery, like in the shop. And the kind of work that woodworking calls for is just, you got to be focused. You got to be 100% there, and
Need to
just
be sharp.
got to be sharp, exactly. And I remember being called into the office, and Mr. Robert sitting me down. He's like, "We got to let you go. You're not progressing." And he never really brought up the whole my whole issue with alcohol, but he kind of was just like, it's like, you don't really have to like live like this. You just because when someone is going through the struggles of addiction, it's just their definition of normal can just be so askew, and they won't even realize it. And but like, so many people on the outside can see it, but yeah, that was probably the biggest job I regret losing due to my addiction with alcohol. And after that, I worked for Amazon for a little bit, and it was February of last year where it was, or well, I guess it's important to tell about the experience with S2L is not my first rehab. The first rehab I went to was a recovery center in Oxford, Mississippi. It was a very secular rehab. No, wasn't focused around like God or faith. It was very professional. Like every class that we went to, we were just being talked to by professionals, by psychiatrists, and needless to say, it worked for a good bit. I was sober for about, I want to say 130 days, but it just crept back in. And it was after that time I got the job with the woodworking company. And it was just such a, it was a drag. It was awful. Just thinking back upon it, just the way that it affected my relationship with my family. My family didn't want me coming over, and like, my parents are sharp. They could tell if I'd been drinking like that day or that the night before. It's just, they could tell, and it breaks my heart, or it didn't break my heart at the time. I was just, man, it's just so crazy how like one doesn't care when they are so lost in that battle. And back to this last February, I was losing my apartment. I couldn't pay for a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment, and I didn't want to live in my car again. That was another thing. It's just I'd lived in my car at one point, and it was miserable. And I don't remember how I was able to find myself in an apartment. But my roommate, he hated it. It was dragging, like, once again, it was dragging me down. All my money I made from these really good and stable jobs, it was 90% was probably going towards alcohol. And then I was barely struggling to make ends meet. But then, just once he decided to move out and break the lease, he actually made me sign a form saying that he could leave and all the responsibility would be on me. And just the hopelessness that I felt. I can actually even paint you a picture. I just remember like the nights leading up to me going to S2L. Like I was alone in an apartment, isolated. Um, Power was shut off, so no air conditioning, no TV, no light. Um, and I remember the night before I was gonna go to pack for Tennessee for S2L. Um, I was I, I was living above these really nice people. I've never met people probably so genuine in my life, but they provided me with a little lantern. They gave me like a little snack, and they actually they literally cooked me a steak dinner. And
Wow.
I was just sitting there in the darkness eating a little steak dinner by a little lantern light. Like if that doesn't uh, just spell hopelessness for you, like that is not normal.
Mm,
And just thinking back, that was like that's one of the darkest moments of my life. It was darkest just before the dawn, and that next day, my parents got me, or my dad got me, and then I just spent that next day packing for S2L. And I went through S2L, and it has radically changed my life. And this this coming February, February 8th, I believe, I will have been a year sober, and that is a first, the very first of many milestones for me.
I'm I'm it makes me like so happy to see just in you talking about some the dark places that you were in, to where you are now, and the fact that you can look back on them clearly and see like, ah, God, I hated that I was in that place, that I didn't care. um it it's such an astonishing transformation, and um it's a real relief to see that part of my friend come back. And I'm
Yeah,
trying not
I
to get.
remember. Yeah, I remember having a conversation with you like the month or two. It was the time you asked me to come over to help you put a couch together,
Mhm.
and uh, I remember I remember us having a really difficult time trying to figure out the legs of that
Oh
couch.
my gosh, yeah.
And but afterward, um, what's really made me cherish you as a friend, like you are one of the very few people I've stayed in touch with um, going forward. And I just remember that talk we had in y'all's cul-de-sac in Birmingham is just, um, I mean, to be honest, I can't remember if I had, um, I don't think I drank that day when you'd asked me to come over. Most definitely the night before. And to be completely transparent, after I was going to leave and we were going to have we had that very like heart to heart talk in your cul-de-sac. I was going to go to a gas station. I knew I could get what I like to drink, and I was going to just do what I normally did. But just looking back at that heart to heart moment, it was just, you could see how broken I was on the inside, and stuff that I didn't want to acknowledge was just, you could see that. And I can't thank you enough for just being that kind of friend who has stuck by me and supported me in any little way you can. Um, just that kind of friendship, that is a gift from God.
Thank you, and I'm glad to have had everything that we've had together. It's immeasurable what it means to me. Um, well, I was it when before I started tearing up, I was thinking just I I, I haven't had a guest on the podcast where I've just kind of let them go without feeling the need to kind of ask for clarification on some things. But just hearing kind of you take us through the whole story there. Is I was on the edge of my seat, just kind of listening and taking it all in, and I really appreciate the level of candor that you had in sharing all of that, because I don't I feel like this is the age where we start to identify that, if there is that problem with a relationship with any substance, then it kind of emerges and rears its head around here for a lot of people. Um, and you were the first like close friend that I had, um, that I knew to have, um, that troubling relationship with alcohol, and I was wondering what I could do to like be there for you. Um, and it was hard to, I don't know, it was a little bit like neutering to the to the spirit in a sense. Like I was like, oh man, like what do I do? I haven't had that. So like uh that's why I'm so proud to see in the ways that you've grown and the things that you're doing with S2L, kind of advocating for others. Tell me about your role in S2L, and yeah, maybe you can touch on your own experience, in the program, as you're talking about, your responsibilities and what you're doing for these guys that are in the program.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this is kind of like the second half. Just S2L is a very, very special place. Like I could tell the moment I got to their campus up in the hills. It's very up on a hill. The road is actually literally called Hill Creek Road. But I remember just first off, the staff, interns, everyone there. It's like you can just feel God's love through these men, uh, because like everybody, all these guys, and if you're not really like, if you're not Christian and you're not really like accustomed to like pure Christianity, you've got guys coming up to you and saying, "Hey, man, I'm so glad you're here. I love you." And for me, I mean, it's like, yeah, it felt kind of weird, but like I knew where these guys, I knew these guys. I knew where their hearts were. I
Knew
knew
what it
they were
was
there
rooted
to
in.
help. Yes, exactly. And I could just tell from the moment I got there that this place, especially comparing it to the Oxford Treatment Center in Mississippi, is just God was present every single step of the way. And that was the ultimate issue. Is as soon as I went away to college, I just said, screw church. I'm not going. I'm going to sleep in. I feel like it's time better spent. In my relationship with God, it was just fractured. It was broken right there. And it's something that I like to liken it to the prodigal son, the parable of the prodigal son. And it's just, that's the power that God has. He lets us do our little human things and go about our human ways, like thinking we've got it all figured out. But that's the best part, is just when we mess up, we stumble and we fall. God's always there for us to return to him, and he was waiting for me with open arms. And it was just, I keep telling the guys that I am around, is I don't like saying that I'm above them just being a staff member. I'm going through it with them,
Like alongside.
um, alongside them, exactly. And oh shoot, I lost my thought. But just Oh, it's right there. But it's just, oh man, this train is totally derailed now.
So you're all good. Let's see what we can do to get back on track. So it's a take me through what someone who like it's a what you're doing on a day to day when you are meeting with these guys. They're coming in to the cabin or wherever you're going to be. What does it look like to be engaging with them, encouraging them, stuff like that?
So when you first, you got to admit you have a problem. It's got to be 100% your decision, and your loved ones, they can't make that decision for you. And that's the hardest thing about admitting you need to go to a rehab, especially a faith-based all men recovery center like S2L is once you admit that you need help, they'll bring you in as fast as possible. We've got guys that come in from all over the country. One of my buddies who's going through phase 2, which is the cabin. He doesn't have much longer left. He's from Washington State.
Wow.
And yeah, so we've got guys from all over the country, and they'll come in, we'll screen them, and whatever their addiction is, they will have to detox off of. And they've got this really nice, small little detox building right next to their main offices, a lodge. And once they've detoxed, they'll be admitted for their first 42 days of treatment, which the lodge is phase 1 and the cabin is phase 2. You can elect to do a second 42 days for a total of 84 days if you do the whole program. What that looks like day to day is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we'll have gym days. There's a gym not far from where I currently live. We'll go to the gym for 2.5 hours, and that's where I discovered I really, really enjoy pickleball.
Nice.
So that was really major in the program, the curriculum that they have. But it's just class from like 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. We have devotional every morning. Our meals are cooked by interns, and let's see, it's a very structured program, and it's just not a lot of free time to like just sit around and get in your head. I mean, of course we have time for like TV and just time to hang out, but a lot of that time is it's got purpose to it.
Mm-hmm.
And
so with that, there, like you mentioned, it's not a lot of free time. It's very structured, and I imagine that it's helpful for maybe some folks who need kind of a reset on that, or aren't used to having that kind of structure. So it's just like we're packing it in. It's like here's the queer kind of steps and stuff that we're doing. Because I was like 2.5 hours for the gym. That's kind of it's a lot, but is I think in filling up your day and like having like a very clear purpose there makes a lot of sense. So yeah,
now I'm thinking about it now. It's really more like an hour 45, because like thinking about the gym slot, it was it's like from 1 o'clock to 3 p.m. and it's about a 35-minute drive to and from the gym to the lodge. So this, however that time adds up, minus the commute to and from, that's about how much time they have at the gym. But the biggest thing about the structure the program offers is we're going to church. Let's see, Sunday, sometimes Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. You're going to church almost on a perfect week. You're going to church 5 times a week.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those is our own personal, it's not, I wouldn't really call it a church service, but it's our service that alumni just families with addiction. You can actually find it on YouTube. It's called Catapult. That's just our own personal worship service. No one on the outside is allowed to come, but anyone can watch it on YouTube. But yeah, that was the biggest thing, and one of the biggest things, even as a staff member, getting to do is just getting to go to all these church services, and yeah, it's huge. It's huge. Just someone who had run away from the church for so long, that amount of church, it can be very overwhelming and very suffocating to someone who doesn't know God at all. It's just, oh my goodness, what in the world have I gotten myself into?
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, I was lucky enough to go through the program with a great group of guys. We would meet outside of class and have like a little Bible study in the classroom. We tried to go through the book of Job, which for me, that's probably my favorite book of the Bible. Just because it talks about, or it's a book about Job, who went through a really, really, really hard time and was rewarded for his faithfulness in God. But yeah, I was lucky enough to go through with good guys, and I work with some of those guys now, and it's so much. I get so excited even talking about it, just because like I can't believe that this is my job. This is what I get to do and get paid for. Is just be with these guys and help them, and just go through it with them. Just be with them as they're trying to overcome something that is so difficult to eradicate from one's life.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, one thing that kind of stands out to me is you said you're going through it like together, like you don't think of yourself as above, like it's kind of happening to you at the same time. And I imagine that's like a really good design for one, like for your sake, to like continue allowing you to be in that environment in a new framework. Like you're helping that's kind of like centering, I would think, in your ability to like stay on like your journey. Is that
Oh yeah.
I'm sure that that's helpful, but could you maybe tell us about how that's helpful?
Yeah, for sure. And that's another major difference between S2L and another rehab. Been comparing it to Oxford Treatment Center. At Oxford Treatment Center, you're not being talked to like, or well, let me just simplify it. At S2L, pretty much like 99% of the staff are people that have battled addiction and have overcome it. There are people who have literally gone through what one could be going through, and it is nothing like that at a lot of the rehabs. Even faith-based rehabs don't have that caliber of quality to like the staff. It's just going to be not as personable. Like I was thinking about Oxford Treatment Centers, just, yeah, this person is really smart that is leading this class, but do they really know what it's like to just like, do they really know? And like, yeah, they
But
know about
the
the
difference
science.
between like
Yeah.
factual and like credible, like it's a like you get
Yeah.
it. You have been there, and you really like understand like what these guys are going through. And like it seems like that all the other stuff, like the studies and the, like, hey, here's the psychology of it, here's the facts on how it affects your health, like, and so all that stuff is important, but ultimately, like, someone is probably who's going through this is probably not dealing with this in like a logical sense. Like, oh, I know that this is like bad for me and bad for my relationships, but you mentioned I don't care. Like, I didn't care at this time in my life. So
There's not
for
that
you,
level of personability, or just, it's not easy to relate to someone who hasn't gone through it as it is with someone who who has gone through it. And
Hmm.
yeah, it's huge that how that relationship works.
Yeah, I love that it's such a big part of the culture of the people on staff there have all gone through it. It I don't know, it feels like there that helps with the buy-in um, for, yeah, I don't know, guests, like the people who are the people staying, like I don't wanna say patients, that doesn't sound right. Like what if for
Um, that would be a service recipient. We call them SRs.
service recipient, that's perfect, thank you. Um, it feels like there would be a greater degree of buy-in from everyone involved because of the united sense of, like, we're in this together, we've all gone through it, all actively going through it. Um, yeah, that's such a cool thing.
Yeah, and the biggest part about it is it's yes, it's a rehab on the outside. Ultimately, what S2L is here to do is just mend that relationship with God, with Christ, and because I went through the program with a guy who really didn't have any addiction. He was just uh, obsessed with women. And I mean, yeah, that can be an addiction, but it was just we've got guys there who have overdosed on fentanyl, heroin, or major alcoholics like I am or I was. He just really didn't have a problem. He was just there and really focused on his relationship with Christ. And man, he kind of got annoying a couple of times, but man, I do miss his just his personality. He was a very friendly individual, and but yeah, it's just the main focus. It's your relationship with God and how God is the one that can set everyone free from any addiction. And I feel like if I don't say the main phrase or the tagline um, that we say is from the rooms of recovery comes the revival of a nation.
Mm.
And it's because we, as like these broken people, when we realize who we are in Christ, we can bring that change anywhere we believe we can bring it.
I love that.
And we want to bring it to everybody because
Yeah,
everybody needs the love of Christ, especially in this world that we live in.
yeah, 100%. Um, so how do you when you're going into work, what are the steps that you take to, like, get in the right headspace to, serving these guys?
Um, that's an interesting question because one, it does require a little bit of an authoritative figure kind of mindset because like I'm there to just lead them in the right direction. And these guys have most of them are master manipulators, and they will definitely try to like, for example, last night, being snowed in, they've been going kind of stir crazy, and they were really wanting they. It was ultimately understood as a joke, but it's like, so can we go to like Nashville? Can we go to Broadway? And it was just I remember sitting there and I was just like, y'all know we can't do that. And it's just um it's interesting because I've had the hardest time trying to view myself as a leader. Like I've had people like, oh, you're a great leader. Like in past jobs, it's like, man, you could really uh, lead this place. And it really helps that I have a coworker who I went through the program with. He's with me the nights that I work. And if I didn't mention the schedule, it's a weird schedule. It's you work 2 shifts and then you're off 2 shifts. And so my schedule is very different. It's not very different. It's different week to week. Like I'll have Mondays off sometimes, and I won't have Mondays off. I like to take Mondays off, or like to have my Mondays because my lovely girlfriend Taylor, that's her half day at her work. I like to spend time with her, but yeah, just man, the headspace. It's before I got into your podcast, it's just listening to good worship music. It's just praising God for every opportunity that He's presented me, and just trying to stay in tune with what He is trying to tell me, trying to stay in tune with what He wants me to do.
Mm-hmm.
Just stop and be in the moment and just like direct me, God, lead me, God, just show me or help me show these guys the love that you have shown me. Help me show them the forgiveness that you have shown me. Just help me, just help him, help me, help them, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know, it's just where it all goes back to we're all in this together. And if I'm not tuning my relationship with God constantly, it's just how can I tell these guys how to tune their relationship with Christ? So it's just a constant every single day. It's just listening and praying to what God has in store, not what I have in store, not what Slay James has planned, but what God wants me to do. And that it's been tricky, especially leaving the program. It's just trying to figure out how to maintain that level of obedience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one thing that I've heard this phrase a bit, just having been in like camp ministry before, is that like in order to be able to pour into others, I need to make sure that my cup is like overflowing. So like going back to that source and stuff like that. And it that's what it sounds like you're doing with, worship music and kind of doing it constantly and constantly being in prayer and stuff like that. It's amazing. What's in the future for you with S2L or outside of S2L, do you think?
That's another good question, because right now I feel like I'm just doing every right thing and can't really see myself going anywhere else for right now. The main reason why I decided to join the team at S2L is just because I've wanted to do numerous jobs, but with my lovely relationship with alcohol, I haven't been able to achieve certain things. Especially like one thing I would like to do is go back and finish school, and my major over the years has changed several times. I wanted to be a teacher, but ultimately, if I do go back to school, it'd be for psychology, so I could do just like some counseling or therapy work. And that was the main pull of S2L, is like I could kind of be not like a therapist to them, but just like really
get some practical experience.
Practical experience, exactly. And if God willing, that's in my future, that would definitely be what I would love to do.
Yeah, love that. I love that you're. It seems kind of equal parts. Like I'm just happy to be where I am and like being present and doing this. But if I could see going down this way, I like that a lot. That's awesome. Well, I've got one more kind of section for you here. Is the tradition is the previous guest asks a question to the next guest, and we kind of continue that chain on.
Okay.
So
yeah,
I've
been wondering how these later episodes have kind of evolved from the earlier episodes.
Yeah, so you'll start to catch on as you catch up. But this question comes from not episode 25, but episode 24, because we're filming this one before episode 25.
Okay.
But it comes
totally
from
makes sense.
Yeah, it's not too much backtracking here, but it comes from Bailey Burrow, and her question is: when it comes to toilet paper, you go over or under? when you're sticking it on like the toilet paper roll, like when it's falling off, is it over or is it under?
Man, do I totally expose myself right now? Okay, well, first to answer that question is I don't know. I know it's supposed to go over. I just really like it under.
Okay.
Because that way I can take it and not
Yeah,
have
you can
as
just
much
rip it off.
resistance. But now man, I'm really gonna expose myself. But the toilet paper handle thing, it's so weird. It like has a knob, so like when I'm like taking toilet paper off, it catches, and so you got a full roll, it's gonna catch, and you're gonna rip off like 2 squares of toilet paper. So it's just I'm not gonna deal with this. I'm just gonna have it right here behind on the tank. I'm gonna
So
take it. I'm just gonna go.
So are you team like neither? Like no over or under? Just like you just want to like like wrap?
Pretty much. I hate to deal with that stupid toilet paper holder thing. It's just, and I don't even know. I can't figure out how to change it.
Love that. So there's your answer is like in the you know what it should be is over, but really it's going to be neither.
Off the record, yeah.
I love that. That's awesome. Well, I want to give you the same opportunity now. Is what question would you like to ask whoever comes next? Even though I've spoiled it for you, but we'll I guess we won't be spoiling because Tabby will come before, and then we'll go back in time. So if you've made it this far, you will have known that Tabby was episode 25. But
Gotcha. Let's see. Let's see. What's a good question?
is there a question that you like to ask at S2L, like just to kind of get the gears going or get to know you questions or stuff like that?
No, it's so laid back there. She's like, I walk in and everybody's like, "Oh, hey, what's up, man? It's good." Like, especially if it's the first of my 2 days on, it's just, "Oh, it's good to see y'all. I haven't seen y'all since Monday." Um, oh, shoot. Let's see.
Do you have a good like would you rather question? Because that's been a good one
Okay,
for us.
would you rather never eat your favorite food ever again, or would you rather never watch TV again? I don't know. This was very, yeah. Would you rather never eat your favorite food, or would you rather never watch TV ever again?
Ooh, do you have an answer for that? Do you think? I feel like if like we're talking never have your favorite food again, or like no TV ever. I don't know. I don't feel really good answering one way or the other. I might say there's lots of other really good food out there, so I might say I'm gonna lose out on my favorite food. Maybe.
And it's kind of the same way with like TVs, because there's so many other ways to like consume entertainment these days.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, that's a good thing because you could get you audiobooks and magazines or whatever you like. Ah, that's a good one. I like that. Okay. Would you rather never eat your favorite food again or no TV ever again? All right. I like that one. We'll keep that in. All right. Well, Slay, it's any parting thoughts before we close it out for the episode?
If you know someone, if you love someone, someone's struggling, just let them know they're not alone, and encourage them to just seek help, and ultimately seek what might be missing in their life, which most of the time is a good relationship with Christ. Because once you find that relationship with Christ, it's just nothing else. Well, one, nothing else can satisfy, and two, everything else falls into place. I wouldn't be where I am. I wouldn't have this nice place that I live at. Wouldn't have this job. I wouldn't have this lovely girlfriend that I have. Wouldn't have her goofy little son to play with every time I get to see them. And it's just everything, everything good comes from God. And just that's the message I want other people to know. And especially those who are struggling. And if you need help, S2L could always we'd love to have people struggling at S2L. So
love that. Well, thank you for sharing. So, like, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's always great to have really close, really old friends on it. It makes a world of difference to be able to share that connection that way. That's gonna wrap it up for episode 26 of When I Was Your Age. It's been a real pleasure and a treat to have you guys here for this one, and we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks.